Running our own business isn't easy, and it can be a tough gig for all of us at times, and only other business owners truly understand the challenges that we face. And on Scale Up Radio, we aim to help make things just that little bit easier by interviewing guests who have been where you are now, regardless of where you are on the scale up journey, and maybe facing some of the challenges that you are facing. And they offer their thoughts and advice on what has worked well for them, as well as what didn't, of course. And we've also combined many of these lessons into a practical scale-up handbook called the Entrepreneurial Scale-Up System. And there's details of this at the end of the episode. So welcome to Scale Up Radio.
So, hello, Luke Luckman. Welcome to Scale Up Radio. Please introduce yourself to our audience.
I'm Luke Luckman. I'm a co-director of Phoenix Consultants. So we're a product design consultancy based in Gloucester, right in the centre on King Square. So we work with different entrepreneurs and businesses from all the way from startups all the way through to really large businesses, developing their products from sort of sketches on backs of napkins or that sort of thing in the sort of product design world, all the way up to product on shelf, manufacture, injection molding, and sort of all of the production level stuff.
Oh, the full life cycle of a product development all the way to being able to get it out there for selling. So, wow, interesting. If we get a chance, I'll give you my background on that type of thing myself. So, give us an understanding. Products are products. Yeah, what type of things have you worked on? Or you work.
So yeah, we've worked on. We don't sort of pigeonhole ourselves. So we've worked on everything from gym equipment, sort of low-end medical equipment, right up into a bit of interior design. We've done because we kind of look at interior design as sort of a very large product. We did a bus interior once for a local charity that we're looking at setting up sort of mobile classrooms. So we've kind of done a sort of whole plethora of different products. But sort of the process tends to run the same. So someone will come to us with an idea for a product or a product that they have and they want to change and develop it. So we'll take that all the way back to sort of research, sort of because we're not experts in everything, we have to sort of understand the sort of ecosystem it lives in and all of the pros and cons of different products and what's out there, developing it from, research, then ideation and sketching, to develop sort of a big range of ideas, because that's something that our clients really, really like, is that sort of that deep dive into their product and what are the possibilities of it. Then we refine that further into sort of a smaller range of designs, and then develop that through CAD, through computer-aided design, through 3D printing and rapid prototyping, full prototyping, and then work with the manufacturers to produce those products that our clients can then take to market and sell.
Wow, very exciting! Yeah, so I love it. I've lived in a similar world in my past, so I can fully understand what you're talking about. So, how big are you as a business?
So there's two of us in the business. So there's me and Kieran. So there's two of us in the business. Oh, and our small sausage dog that we have in the office, just to keep morale up and make friends with the clients. So there's two of us in the business. We like to keep it sort of small and lean, allows us to work on lots of different projects all at once. And it gives clients that really like one-to-one. We know your product. You pick up, if you call us, one of me or Kieran will pick up the phone and we'll know the product, the project inside out without having to go through like somebody manning the reception or somebody manning the phones, or people use external call centers to like filter their, we will know. So you can pick up the phone at basically any point and we'll be able to just jump into any sort of questions that the client might have, or any of those sort of questions about the design, or so that's how we work.
And typically how many sort of projects or clients would you be working with at any one time?
So we've probably got 2 or 3 that we're currently running on, but we're booked up now until maybe March time. We're fully booked up until about March time. So we're just looking forward to 2024 and sort of scheduling out different products and projects that we're going to be working on next year.
Wow. What a fantastic full forward order book. Yeah, that's quite a rare thing for clients to be doing that. So I'm a business owner, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm even a large business. I've got an idea or I need to do something. How do I even go looking for you? Why would I come across you? What's my thinking in my head?
So on a sort of really sort of exciting entrepreneur end of it, so we get really the most exciting clients that we get are people that have just stumbled upon a really good product idea. Like they might work separately in there's somebody we're talking to at the moment that's working in the sort of they're designing an exercise product, and they work in the exercise industry. They run events to do with races, long distance races. So they've come up with this through that, and through their own interest in the field, they've come up with this idea that they then think that could be a really viable product. And those tend to work really well because they already have quite a good sort of pool of users, potential users because they might be in clubs or societies or have a business that does this on a day-to-day basis. So they've got this great idea, and that they don't develop products, but that's something that they want to get into. So then they'd come to us to sort of use us as their external design team, because a lot of large companies will have an internal design team that will run like the day-to-day stuff, but we work on like an external consulting basis. So we'll work for a couple of months on a product, get it all the way from the idea that they've come up with from their research, or they're talking to people they know or people in the industry. So they'll have an idea, like a rough sketch or just an idea, and then we'll develop that through the sort of design process, refining it into a manufacturable product.
And typically, would they then, your clients talking about the product, manufacturing product side rather than the bus interior that you did, but would they then take over the relationship and the ownership of product and distribution? Or
so we kind of do we talk about it like we hold your hand right up until the point where you've got the sample in your hand. So we've developed the product, and then we put you in touch with the manufacturers, and we work through tolerances and materials and tooling of that, which is really helpful for the manufacturers, and they really like working with us because we speak the same language, and then we're a nice sort of middle ground between someone that knows hard engineering, injection molding or something along those lines, and we fill in the gap between the client who's got this amazing idea and the injection molder or manufacturer on the other end. We have a lot of manufacturers that come to us when somebody misses us as a step. So they've got an idea, they know it's going to be made out of a plastic, they go to an injection molder, and then the injection molder will be like, oh, you need to talk to Phoenix Consultants because they'll give you the files that we need and test the idea before investing in all this tooling, because tooling can be multiple thousand, like £15,000 to get tooling done. Whereas we allow for lots of testing and developing, and we can produce something that's a prototype that you can take to a potential user for them to test, understand, use, find what could be improved, and then we'll improve that, and then sort of we'll work through that process to get to a tooling and injection molding part. Then once that's all made, we hand that all over to you. You've got the entire sort of the product and everything around that by that point, that you can then just begin to sell that to your end user.
So I'd still need to then go and find a distribution process, a way that I'm going to, organize it for delivery, etc.
Yeah, that's kind of where we would sort of take a back seat on that one. A lot of manufacturers now, because they're looking at more sort of low units of that sort of thing, are now developing their own systems around that, their own packaging sort of processes, and to get to that end point where a lot of the products now go to somewhere like Amazon, so it'll just be sent straight from the manufacturer, packaged all the way to Amazon, and then sit in their warehouse ready for it to be sent out to a customer.
Yes. Amazon has definitely changed the marketplace for product distribution. Yeah, very much so. Yeah, and they do that all for you. All you need to do is give them the product and set it up for selling.
Yeah, so that's kind of one of the reasons that we joined the industry at just about the right point, because Amazon suddenly got so big, and these sort of small businesses can now fit into these massive markets, which used to be completely saturated by the big companies. And if you weren't in John Lewis or well, let's go back, Argos, or the Argos catalog. If you went in the Argos catalog, people didn't know that you were there, so there was no way of them sort of getting to it. But now with the advent of e-commerce, the ability to build your own website, just straight through a Wix site or Squarespace or something, you can basically put together a business very quickly and claim some of the market share through with social media, and you can build your exposure to get it's a really exciting time for the product market now.
Wow. Yes. Yeah, a real change. So what makes, I assume there are lots of product development companies like yourself. What makes you different? What do you strive to be best at?
So I'd say the as I spoke about before, that small team just on the end of the phone sort of quality that we have is very attractive to our sort of clients, because the big firms, they have client managers, and there's whole levels and levels of management between you and the designer. So, could you just tweak this? What would it look like in this color? Could we make it longer or shorter, or anything along those lines? We can be really responsive with that, and we sort of pride ourselves on that. That sort of responsiveness. And a lot of our competitors it's kind of the design industry as a whole has a sort of when the client comes to them, they think they've got the idea, and then they just run with it, get all the way through the process as quickly as possible, come to the end result, and the client's like, it's not quite what I was thinking. So it's that collaborative, we'll have sort of a meeting every couple of weeks, a Teams meeting or an in-person meeting at our office to discuss, to show you renders of the product or a prototype of the product to test and understand, because at the end of the day, our clients really know what they're trying to achieve better than we do, on a sort of on a top level of what the experience needs to be. So we kind of fill in that gap between I suppose our clients you'd need to spend years and years and a massive amount of investment to be able to develop the product yourself, whereas you can come to us and we've kind of got it all ready for you. You can use all of our resources and all of our knowledge to build, to translate the idea all the way through.
Yes, I like that. Translating an idea all the way through from concept to delivery. So what is the marketplace like for your type of industry? Is it competitive? What are the trends that are taking place in the sort of product development marketplace?
There's not many design consultant businesses, product design consultants out there. There's mainly in the big cities, in London, in Bristol, in Birmingham. That's kind of close to us because we're Gloucester based. That's kind of where it all centres around. So there's maybe 50 that are probably playing in this space. So there's not a huge amount of competition. But then the clients that we're looking for are kind of few and far between. Not everyone needs our service, so it's kind of it's the standard when you set up businesses and you start marketing, and that tends to be sort of business to customer stuff, whereas we're more business to business. So we've got to we have to find out where those customers are. We've looked at sort of networking events and trade shows and things, but it tends to just be our website. So our website's very important. Sort of, and our portfolio of projects we've worked on, which a lot of the design consultancies will sort of have a general theme. They'll specialize more in something. So if your product doesn't fit that, they would tend to not approach the bigger companies, whereas we're sort of, we've done a larger range of products. So we've got a bit of everything on our website. Furniture, medical products, fitness, but then we've done some audio stuff. So we've done like a massive amount of different products, which we really enjoy, sort of that sort of the difference that comes with that one, and just learning really deeply some of the really important parts of those products.
So you talked about then in that first stage, you're doing the analysis and the review. Are you doing that by looking at the marketplace? For that product? Are you thinking, do you do the research?
So if there's sort of if there's quite a few products on the marketplace that sort of are in that will be competitor products, we'd probably buy those and then test them, see how they work, see what works and what doesn't work. We'd probably get the client involved in that to see what they like and what they don't like about that. What is out there. We do a lot with intellectual property lawyers. So we work through patents and registered designs on sort of what's protected, what's come out of patent, what could be used, all of those sort of things. We use IP lawyers for that because there's a whole art form that we're not professionals in, but we understand the ins and outs of it, and we do a lot of the IP drawings and the line drawings, which comes into the design process. And once the product's in its final stage, we'll do the line drawings and work with an IP lawyer to protect that, so no one can steal those ideas. So we'll do what's on the market and intellectual property and patent searches, and we'll then sort of have a look at what's unique about the new product, and then start prototype stuff and test that really early on. So whatever the innovative idea is, we'll try and get to that point as fast as possible to see how that functions and what the pitfalls are to then develop it further.
Excellent. Yes. So let's talk about the journey and the development of Phoenix Consultants. Now, interesting name, Phoenix as well. So when did you get going, and where did the name come from?
So the long story is, I started product design with Kieran, my colleague, in 2014 at the University of Gloucestershire. So that's the sort of the very beginning of the sort of journey. So we worked through a couple of years of university, and then we were looking at getting placements in the industry. That didn't turn out as well as we hoped, because the industry is a very competitive place. And from people two people that went to not one of the top unis in the country, just starting out, our course had only just started the first year that we started. So we were kind of the pioneers of that course. So we were the first cohort through. So there wasn't as many industry connections as maybe we wish there was. So we did a research placement year, which is we set up a product design consultancy through the university to work with clients and sort of get that invaluable experience of working with clients and understanding that process. It's a bit different than working in like a design team in a firm, because they have their own, you don't have to fight for the work or understand what the client wants or any of those things, because you kind of already got basics. So we spent that year working with local businesses to develop products that they were looking to bring forward. So we learned a lot working with those. Can't remember off the top of my head any of the products, because it was quite a long time ago. But so we developed some products for some different clients, and then we went back into the final year of university and completed that, and then took our products that we created in the final year to New Designers exhibition in London, which is a really prestigious graduate design show. So we were the first year in our course. And we managed to take it all the way to the biggest graduate design show in the country. So we exhibited alongside maybe 50 to 100 different universities. And we kind of realized at that point why the market was why the placement market was so competitive. Is because once we realized that the top 50 to 100 universities were in this place, and there's 40 to 150 graduates coming out of that every year, it kind of dawned on us why it was so hard to just get a foot in the door. So at that point, it was kind of we decided to set up a design consultancy based on what we'd learned from our research placement year to build what is Phoenix Consultants. So we sort of started small from a small like cupboard office that the university very kindly gave us a good deal on, just off the quays in Gloucester. So it was just our kit from university, a couple of laptops, little 3D printer we bought, and some bravery. And then sort of from that point, it just sort of grew organically, working with more and more and bigger clients, and building our resources. Like we must be on six 3D printers now from our one in 2018. We've now got a little design studio and a small workshop in a sort of creative business space in the city centre called Jolt Studios, which was set up as part of the council set up, sort of wanted a creative space in the city. So we actually helped design and sort of create that space as well, which was really which was really nice. So we helped develop the space that we're now based in. So it all kind of cohesively fits together, and we've got all sorts of businesses from tattoo studios and somebody that makes clothing for sort of does product design, but for clothing. So that's quite useful to have on hand. A guy that makes guitars, a guy that does film, a girl that does she does costumes for TV and film. So there's sort of a great deal of resource even in this space that we can call on to help us with different projects.
Yeah. Wow. Fascinating growth and how you went about it. Really, really interesting that. So you started about 2017, something like that, was it?
2018, I think we officially began.
Yeah.
Yes, so halfway through 2018. So we had 2018 through to 2020, the beginning of 2020. We were just getting on, everything was kind of working. We worked out all the kinks in the business, anything that was causing us any problems. And we were sort of looking forwards and sort of booking out. And then we came around to March 2020 and COVID hit. So that was a big sort of milestone in the business of trying to work from home and working out how that would work and talking to clients and seeing how they're going to navigate their businesses and what they're looking towards for that one. So yeah, what is that? A couple of years of that, and then since then it's just kind of gone from strength to strength. People have slowly come out. Everyone's getting a bit more confidence in industry and bringing products out. There's kind of the pros of the pandemic with the idea. With that, come back to Amazon and Amazon Prime and all of those more product these sort of product businesses, and people have spent 2 years thinking about that. I really want to do that product that I've always thought about. Wouldn't it be good if we could get that going? So that sort of played into our favour on that one. And yeah, it's just allowed us to develop all the process, further develop the processes and the website and everything from that.
Yeah. So next, you've gone through that transition of coming out of university. You've just started up your business. COVID hits. You've now come out the other side and growing. What are the things? What are the key things you've learned around running a business so far? What positive things and negative things you wouldn't repeat?
I think so. We realised early on that we needed to learn as much as possible in a short amount of time as we could. So we spent that first year and a half learning as much as we could. So we went to all of the free resources, all of the workshops, all of the networking events, any opening of a space, just to build a network and build some understanding of running a business, because we were very skilled in product design. We'd been doing it for a degree for 3-4 years, but we were very aware that business as a concept was the bit we needed to learn. So I think that's probably one of our sort of superpowers as a business, is learning really quickly. So that's kind of what I would say was definitely the right thing to do, is learn as much as we can. And even though we were learning things that were for later down the line, they're now pre-ready for us to just fill in as we go. It's like, like marketing strategies and a client. At the beginning, we may have had a couple of clients, maybe a month, a couple of clients to organize, and that we don't really need to worry about how we're going to organize clients in the future and running projects and things, because we've only got a couple at a time. Whereas now it's really important to us on how to manage these clients, how to manage projects and where to fit them in and prioritize things. So that's one of the things that we are really glad that we did. Building networks, making sure that you're known is really important. to try and get out there and meet people. I think one of the things we've done is really embedded ourselves in Gloucester as a business. We're quite proud of the city that we're based in. It's at a really interesting point in time. While it's sort of, since we've set up the business, we started the business in Gloucester, didn't really have much interest, wasn't really the place to be, was just sort of like, oh yeah, Gloucester's there. But now there's so much investment coming into the city. It's a really exciting time to be here, as long as you don't mind the sound of construction and traffic lights all the time. So our office is on King Square. So there was the King Square development. That was 2 years, I think, of developing that, the new square, which looks great and has a fountain in it. Then there was a big development behind us to put some apartments in. So that was a year. Now we've got the Forum coming in right next door to us, and a new hotel and innovation space, which is very exciting. To have all this development around us is really exciting. And all our clients that come, and they're like, oh, I did go to Gloucester once, but it wasn't anything like this. And it's this new, exciting place to be. Which I think is very important. We're very proud to. We've had our part in it. We've built the space that our office is in. We've done different work for the Gloucester City Council, which is which is really progressive now and wanting to look forward into the future on what they can do next. That's really important to us, and sort of working on all of the opportunities that we've been given in the city is really important. I've actually just taken on the Gloucester Chamber of Commerce, so I'm now the president of the Gloucester Chamber of Commerce. So I'm trying to bring that into sort of this bright future that we're looking at. So I think it's been going since 1890. So some of the sort of processes are a bit dated. So I've been dragging that into forwards. There was quite a big following at one point, but that kind of dropped off with how the city sort of progressed and was left. But now I'm bringing it back. So yeah, that's been a new challenge, but it's not been too bad because we built this network. We know everyone anyway, so the same names keep coming up, and So that's been really exciting, and sort of the next chapter in what we've been doing.
Oh, congratulations! That's really good. I totally believe that needs to take forwards the Chamber of Commerce. That's exciting. So well done. So there's lots going on. You've moved, you've developed, you're growing. You're taking on more clients. So how do you and your business partner? How do you decide on what the key things need to be done next to develop, focus on change? How do you go about that?
So we're always looking forwards on services we can provide and the next stage of that. So with our prototyping capability, originally when we started the business, it was 2 laptops and a 3D printer, and we really quickly realized that there's the prototyping aspect of it is much more important than we originally imagined. So getting to just close those lead times down from idea to physical product in your hand is probably the most important thing that we can do and that we do in our business. So we've invested massively in our 3D printing and manufacturing capability, like prototyping capabilities, to get to that as quick as possible. So, and it's become apparent that that's what the direction that we're going to build in this business is, more and more production equipment. Because that's the thing that our clients always struggle with is, right, so I've got this idea, but I really need to just test the idea. And going to model makers or big engineering firms and asking them to can you just do me one of these, is prohibitively expensive. The lead times can just get away from you. It's like you contact them, then it takes a week for them to come back to you. Then it takes them a while to understand what you want, and you send it off. Then they make it, and they send it back, and it's not quite right. And we've had clients that have gone all the way out to China to go into factories that already make a product very similar, and are just trying to get them to so it's kind of like that, but could you just tweak it and make it, because this is what I want. And toing and froing, and they don't quite understand. And I think some of it just comes down to they don't speak they don't speak the engineering language that these companies want. They they want RAL codes for paint, and they want K values for folding steel, and they want all of these numbers, which a client's just not gonna know or understand how to get to. They're like, no, I just want it this color. What's this color? Yeah. So that's kind of where we're progressing forwards to, is that more production facilities. And sort of the next one will be more staff members with skills we don't have. So we currently outsource things like IP. That's something the intellectual property, that's something we don't do, but having an IP lawyer sort of more on staff would again shorten our lead times on things, because we could just sort of put that together really quickly, and have them in meetings with us, just to get rid of any of the sort of lost in translation that might happen. Yeah. Bringing IP lawyers onto staff, and then looking at developing electronics capabilities and PCB design, because that's something with the progress of products now, they're becoming smarter and more connected and do more. We're condensing 5 products into one. Like I always think about when people used to go off to university, and it would be an entire basically van of things like a stereo system and a TV and a computer and a VCR player and all of these things, whereas it's now a laptop or a phone. So we're condensing into smarter and smarter products. So trying to sort of help our clients with that aspect is really important to us. And having somebody that has all of the knowledge in that would just be very, very interesting, very useful to us.
Brilliant. So, I mean, my question is, how do you and your partner then make the decisions about what that's going to be in the growth? You know, what's your mechanism for decision making?
So currently we work with external companies. So we will be looking at sort of freelance, probably to start with, getting somebody in on a more sort of project-based system. I know a lot of design consultancies run on that, where they'll get a project in and then they'll put out for we need a PCB design, an electronics designer on staff for a 6-month period, because that's how long this project's going to run. And although that's very useful on a business standpoint, on a sort of moral where the job market is going, that's not a very stable income for that person. So we're very aware that trying to create permanent positions for people is really important, because I know lots of people who work freelance, and that sort of, right, you've done 6 months and now you've got to go and find the next project and the next project and the next project to fill that gap. Is really difficult. So we're conscious of being in a position that we can say, yes, we can keep you for a year, 2-year contract. Those are that's kind of where we're looking to do, because we wouldn't want to do like, 1 day a week, that would be useful. And somebody's got to fill their time with something else when they're a high-end professional that's really good at electronics design. They kind of deserve a bit more than that, because we wouldn't want to work like that. That's why we set up a design consultancy instead of going freelance, because the idea of that in the world that we live in and the sort of economic climate we're in, that causes you problems with mortgages and car finance and any of those things. It's that stable income is really important to people.
Yeah. Brilliant. So you're building the business, you're growing the business, marketing. So what marketing works for you guys then?
We've kind of had a sort of mixed bag with marketing. At the beginning, we started really heavily with social media marketing, because 2018, that was kind of close to the heyday of it was the social media, influencer marketing, that kind of like getting a big following was really important. And I think the algorithms were a bit more geared up for that in sort of 2018, and then right up until probably the beginning of the pandemic, where a lot of the algorithms kind of changed, and you'd put a few hashtags on the end of a post, hashtag product design, and you'd get 50 likes in the first couple of hours. And then from that point, and then you do the next one and it would do well as well. Whereas now it's a bit more hit and miss. And we've played with things like we did Reels, and we had 5,000 views in an hour. When Reels first came out and the Instagram pushed it like to everyone, we did really well. And then the next one just didn't do anything. So it's kind of, that's been sort of kind of a learning curve that I don't think we've really ever quite mastered on getting that consistency. But then there's also the argument that our clients aren't really on Instagram anyway, not in a way that isn't huge followings like it used to be, where you would just have enough exposure that somebody would be interested. Whereas we find LinkedIn works really well for us because we're more business to business. So we do a lot on LinkedIn, work really well on networks. And we've realized that a lot of our clients sort of work in the same circles on LinkedIn. So we've seen their connections all sort of meet up. There's quite a network of entrepreneurs in the cycling industry, for instance, at the moment, where we've found that a client we've worked with on one project is also working with with somebody else in their network that's doing a different project. And then that will sort of come around, and there's this. The world's not as big as you think it is, and they're actually very small groups of people in very niche areas that all kind of feed off of each other. So yeah, LinkedIn's really big and kind of fits with us more. I think Twitter at one point was quite important, but I'm not quite sure where that's gone with X and all of those sort of things. I hear Threads is quite good, but I don't really have any experience with Threads yet. But it seems more conversational, so it might work for us. Yeah. And then there's and then from here, it's probably sort of more sort of higher end marketing. We'd probably look into things like magazine articles, because that would be our clients reading in a magazine on innovation or product design as sort of a broad concept that might be more targeted. So we're kind of looking for more. We're looking towards sort of more targeted marketing, and we will at some point get to some of the big trade shows, but when we have some time, I guess. It's just one of those. If we're so busy at this point, all the time put into marketing when we've got all the projects coming in and we're working on loads of projects, it's always a fight to get to the top of the list, isn't it?
Absolutely. When you're such a small business, you have to divide up your time. I was talking to one of my clients only before this podcast about understanding how you're dividing up your time and realizing maybe that's why the sales isn't coming in at the rate that you want them to come in. And he went, I never thought about that.
I think we were told like a thirds rule. Like there's a third of your time you do the projects, and 2/3 of the time you're spending the time building the business and getting the projects to feed into the projects. That's probably got away from us now, and we're probably looking at 2/3 of the time we're doing the projects and 1/3 of the time we're maybe building the business to get the next one in. But it's
brilliant. Well, fantastic conversation. So what's next? So if we're to meet Luke in 5 years' time, we'll have a coffee down the new builds down there in Gloucester. And we're going to meet up and have a conversation about the last 5 years. What's going to happen over the 5 years that's been really successful, both professionally and personally for you?
Next 5 years. So probably in 5 years. Well, in 5 years, we're going to need a bigger premises. So we've currently got a small design studio and a small workshop, which works for the prototyping level that we're working at. People are always coming to us to do bigger and more prototyping and production stuff. So we're working on a project to build a big 3D sign. So that's been kind of a headache to work out producing that. So there's just more of these sort of larger projects that we're really excited about and that will be really good, larger in size, that is. So being able to have a larger space to do that in. We're also working with sort of bigger projects and bigger clients that need things like pallet delivery. We get calls like, can you take a pallet? And we're like, well, kind of. We're upstairs from the old Chambers pub on King Square. You can kind of deliver it around the back and we'll have to unpack it, bring it all up. But we're kind of getting to that point now where we probably in the future will need facility to do that.
Yeah.
So larger premises, which allows for more staff members, permanent staff members that can work on some of the projects alongside us and sort of and manage that sort of thing. So yeah, more staff members, larger space, And that's kind of what we're looking at. I don't think we're not looking at like another premises further away. The whole sort of concept of the business works in that small, you literally just walk from desk to 3D printer to soldering station to a paint booth, all of those in that small amount of space, adding sort of an out of town, the idea of having an office in the city centre and then a unit further out doesn't quite work. It all kind of needs to be all together. But we really enjoy being in the city centre, so that's going to cause us a little bit of logistical issues of trying to work out where that's going to
be. Yes. Well, Luke, what a fantastic conversation. You would believe the last 45 minutes has just passed, but very interesting. I mean, product design, it's so important. It drives the world. People don't really understand it, but it really does. Nothing exists without really clever product design. And the better the product design, the better it becomes. And the top level of product design is Apple and thinking around what Johnny Ives created through that design process, because it is so fundamentally important.
Yeah, we haven't even discussed the sustainability aspect of this going forward, which is going to change the entire industry on top of where we currently are. We're working on, I think nearly every project we're working on at the moment has recycled plastic in it, which the injection molding industry has completely about-faced on their entire outlook on that. A couple of years ago, if you called or talked to an injection molder about recycled plastic, they tell you horror stories of where they poured some plastic in that they got from somewhere and it was made of something that they didn't know and it welded all their tools together and they wouldn't touch it with a barge pole. But now, like you talk to any injection molder at this point and they're like, we have contacts, we know some people, it's all this whole system, we get 100 tons from them every 3 weeks, So that's kind of that's where we're living now, and the battery technology that's coming through with through is incredible. What we can get out of such a small pack now with the e-bike and e-scooter and that entire transition. You've got electric cars now, so there's a whole new level on top of where we were before, based on this battery technology, which is just going to take us to the next level, really.
And what I've really enjoyed in this conversation, while product design, and I'm a passionate believer in product design and thinking about it. My very first product was the Guinness beer tap. I created the inner workings for that because Guinness went to gas dispense. So I really appreciate the level of detail of thinking about the manufacturing process in the design process as you're doing that. But what I love about this conversation, thinking about business, is the fact that you and your partner, business partner, you developed this thinking around products, but you've applied that to your business. You went out and learned everything you can about business. You're thinking about the structural business. You know when things are not working. You know that you need to plan and develop for the future. You've got that level of thinking. So you're almost applying your product design element thinking and your passion for learning to the learning of a business and the growth of the business. And I can really see how that has taken you forwards and made you successful in what you've done and achieved. So
they call it design thinking, that idea of like idea, test, evaluate, which when we heard it as a sort of corporate buzzword by business advisors, didn't even compute that that's what we did, but that is what we do. And we kind of take that work to every aspect, like building our website. We try something, put it up, show it to people, get feedback on the website, look at other people's websites, see how we're doing, and then edit it to make it better. And it's that sort of evolving of everything that we really sort of develop and strive for.
And I have a very strong background in continuous improvement, Lean, Six Sigma. My journey took me from product design and engineering into that. And I've learned the word experiment. You only find something out by having a go, by physically doing it, by experimenting it, discovering, seeing what fails, seeing what wins. And you've demonstrated that. I say to my clients, that's what you should be doing in your businesses. Don't think it's just black and white, it'll work. And you've demonstrated that brilliantly. So if I may, we have a quick fire round at the end to finish us off. So off we go. If you went back to the younger self, what advice would you give yourself?
On a younger self, so I'm extremely dyslexic. So that was like a massive problem that I had during school. And I kind of see there's two directions it could have gone, where I saw a lot of people with quite bad dyslexia. They just decide they can't, so they don't. And there was sort of an epiphany that I had that maybe that school didn't work for me, but maybe it wasn't meant to. So that, like, take what you can from it, but don't sort of hold yourself up to the grades that you got or the how other people were doing and what university you got into or any of that. There was a different path that I needed to take, and overall, that's a better path for me. I'm much happier than I would be if I'd gone down the sort of standard path or decided that it wasn't for me and gone down, not really sort of pursued my passion or tried to move forward. There was a point that came up in a podcast. I can't remember who said it, but it was along the lines of, we don't need lots of bad physicists. Pursue something that you're good at. You know, in school, we all have to fit this mold of, like, I was terrible at English. I was never going to be in it and do anything in English. I'm never going to be a novelist. It's not going to happen. So the idea of, like, why would I strive to be bad at English when I can strive to be good at product design?
Brilliant. Thank you, Luke. Books, any books you maybe listen to, recommend?
Well, so we realised the other day, we were chatting in the office, that even though I'm really dyslexic, I spent a lot of my childhood reading. So I don't know. I think it was just my family and the people around me realised that I struggled with reading, so encouraged me to read. So would buy me books that would interest me on anything, usually some sort of, like, castaway, desert island, lost in the woods type book that I read. So I started out with sort of what would be sort of those sort of, like, novel books when I was young, and then I've read everything up to Lord of the Rings and, like, deep books that I really sort of developed, and that probably helped with my vocabulary and my spelling as much as it can. As I tend to read in shapes. So we learned the other day that we realized the other day that I never really learned how to spell out words. I just have to learn and categorize shapes of words. So just consuming as many words as physically possible is the only way that I ever really learned to read or write. So I've read, Lord of the Rings. I highly recommend. I read the Last of the Mohicans book, which is really good, about the sort of the very end of the First Nations, sort of still being sort of out in the not in reserves, but in the sort of greater North America. So I read all of that, which is good. If you've seen the film, the book's even better than the film. But yeah, just literally anything. Just consuming as much as physically possible through books is very important.
Any podcasts do you listen to that you recommend?
So I do listen quite religiously to The Diary of a CEO, the Stephen Bartlett one. That's probably the only podcast I actually religiously listen to week in, week out. I just think it's really interesting, the development that he did of the initial ones of just talking about him and his business, and then he realized quite early on that he kind of run out of everything that he could talk about. So he gets sort of a big range of attendees of people to interview and talk about, and I think that sort of conversational information transfer is really useful.
Excellent. Onto your mobile phone, any apps that make a difference for you?
All of my apps are work apps, the majority of them. Spotify, to just have music everywhere. And just the ability to have full access to the internet through your phone, like the idea of just, I've got an idea, I've got a question for the internet, and you just type it into Google and it will just give you that. I'm just constantly doing that, just feeding, if you have a question, look it up. I remember as a kid, people would go, go and look it up in a book. And it's like, by that point, I don't care anymore. Time has passed. I've gone to a library and now I can't remember what I'm looking for.
Brilliant. Thank you. And my favourite question of all, who's had the most influence on you as a business leader?
I quite like Richard Branson's philosophy. Philosophies are quite good. I think as he's dyslexic as well, so that's kind of a big thing for when I was a kid. I don't think Elon Musk and any of the other big rockstar business people had come through by that when I was young, but Richard Branson realizing that he was the sort of front man for his business was kind of interesting, and that idea of people buy from people. So it's that development. And he came from, I think the term is barrow boy on like Camden Market or wherever he was, selling records and then developing all the way through to where he is now. Is kind of, a lot of his philosophies I think are really good.
Yeah, I like his biographies very much. So, and finally, Luke, how can people get hold of you?
So probably the easiest way is through our website, phoenixconsultants.co.uk. Everything's on there, our contact details, contact form. That's probably the easiest way to get hold of us. Or just find me on LinkedIn, and I'm pretty responsive on there. I live on there, basically. It's one of my work apps that I was discussing earlier on my phone. So I find that a really good place to just connect with people and ask questions and, use other people's networks. Does anyone know somebody that can help me with this production method or this? Yeah, that's kind of it.
Brilliant. Well, Luke, thank you so much for this fantastic conversation today.
No problem. Thank you for having me. It was really nice to get an invite.
I hope you enjoyed that discussion, and if you're building and scaling your own business, you might well be interested in our book, The Entrepreneurial Scale-Up System. And it's exactly what it says on the tin. It's a practical handbook around scaling a business in a structured way. And you can order a copy on all your favorite online retailers, including an audio version, or you can find it and other supporting resources on our website, www.esusgroup.co.uk. That's esusgroup.co.uk, which is esusgroup.co.uk.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.